Okay. Okay, so hello everyone. Please can everyone hear me well before I proceed? Please let me know in the comment section if you can hear me well. I'm going to have to. Okay, cool. Very cool. So I'll be presenting my entire screen right. Cool, so everyone can see my screen, yeah? Hi Tofumi. Good evening. Can everyone see my screen please? Okay, cool. So today, this is like the whole bunch of things we're supposed to be looking at today. It's pretty much, but it's not much if you look at it. Like the things we're supposed to learn. It's much, but it's not much. So this is what we built last week, which is cool. I've been impressed with the work we've done so far. We've done good. I mean, we've made progress. This is week 5, and we are able to create something cool. We've made progress, and I'm glad about the progress each and every one of us has made so far. Yeah, if we keep up this pace by uh by the 12th week, we should not 12, by the 8th week we should be able to create some amazing things. We should be able to create some amazing things. So just dive in to some parts we'll be looking at today for Monday. So let's see. I'm going to remove everything in this body here. If you have any questions so far about CSS, because I don't think everyone really got CSS. Some did, like 80% did. Not everyone understood CSS completely. So if you have any questions, you can ask me now so I can just reply. Save and I run this. So this is how it looks like. Do we have any questions before I proceed? Uh, okay. Okay. Okay, cool. No questions so far. So, okay. So, one of the things we'll be looking at is, let me pin this, is how to change the color of text. We've looked at that a little bit. So, to change the color of the text, you use the styling property called color. So, you're targeting the elements, for example. So, if you want to change the color of the H1, you make sure that this, if you are targeting the elements, make sure it's a valid element. If it's not a valid element, it's not going to work. So H1, you'd have your color, make it red. And I noticed not everyone closed for each styling we gave, not everybody closed each line by using a semicolon. So please, you make sure you always use a semicolon, because if you don't and you go straight to having background red, you'll see that this first line 11, wasn't even highlighted by the system at all. It wasn't even highlighted. And if I check the browser, it's going to give me an error on that page. Sorry, Control Z. If I come here, you'd see it didn't even reflect the color and the background. So please make sure you always, so this works. Please make sure you always close each line of styling you give it with a semicolon. So we'll be able to change the color to red. So this is like basic. You can change the color using the color property. You can change the font size, which we looked at also. So font size becomes 60 px. We close it, save, and when we run it, 60 px. That one works. We have to set the font family, we looked at that the other week. So let's remove this, come back here and inspect. So if you want to know the if you're working and you want to know the font families that your browser comes with by default, say Chrome for example, you would need to check here. So if you type in font dash family, it gives you list. So you have different kinds, so you know which ones you can use from here. And we used this last week. We were able to tweak for some images of monospace and for some images of cursive. So this is like basic. This is basic one that comes with by default from your laptop. So I noticed that some people went the extra mile, and which is impressive. They imported fonts. So some of us imported fonts. So I'm going to explain how you can import fonts. So because the fonts you have here on your browser is limited, so you have like a marketplace of free fonts you can download and use on your project. Depends on the one that suits you, or depends on the one that the project needs. So currently I know the one I use is Google Fonts. That's the one I use. I'll send the link. I'll send the link. So fonts.google.com. Google has a marketplace for fonts, so you can just go there and check for free fonts and use. It also shows you how you can use the fonts. So I like there are different fonts marketplace you can use, but I love using Google Fonts. So I love using Google Fonts. So we can just select something nice. If you notice, most sites you see Ubuntu, this particular font. Other sites you see Nunito. Other sites you see Open Sans. Like they are very popular fonts that most sites use. Then you see Work Sans. My company's website is Work Sans we use. And you have Quicksand also. So there are lots and lots of them. So you can choose the one that you want to use depending on how you see fit. You can choose. I'm going to make use of Pacifico. I think you'd have to join in again, Olayinka, because I think you're the only one having this issue. Please, apart from Olayinka, can every other person see my screen? Yeah, cool. So Olayinka, please, you will have to join the class again. Please just try to refresh the page. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to make use of Pacifico. So here, from Pacifico, you can tweak so you know how it looks like on larger font size and on a smaller font size. You can even choose to edit the text anyhow you see fit. So you can see. So you select the button. You can choose to download it, but I won't download it. I just want to select style. So instead of downloading it, you can just reference the link, which is just very easy and straightforward. So if I click on select this style, now the good thing about Google Fonts is it lets you know how you can use it. So if you want to use this in HTML, you just need to copy this link and then use this CSS rule. And once you're done with that, you are like good to go. Okay, this is for HTML, the link. If you want to use the at import, as if you are inside your CSS, you can use this at import inside your CSS. You can also use it inside your HTML because it's inside the style tag, and you can't use the style tag inside CSS. But if you copy out just this part here, this import URL, you can use it inside CSS. So we work with this one, the link is what we're going to work with. So I'm just going to copy this, copy it, and I'll come here. So I'll make sure it's in my head. So anything that has to do with the link tag, this link tag has to be in your head, please. It always has to be in your head tag. So here we have here the link. We've already linked this. So to use this, we are told we should add the font family Pacifico. Now you'd notice that there is a comma there, Pacifico, comma cursive. that comma is like or cursive. So if it happens that the browser doesn't see Pacifico, say for example somebody is accessing your site and the person can't see the font you added, you need to add a fallback font. So that fallback font is going to make sure that your site doesn't just look bland. So if it happens one doesn't work, it's always good you have like two or three backup just in case. So we have that. So in the H1 I can just come in here and put font family Pacifico, and if I refresh you see that it has changed to Pacifico. So this is like cool and it's basic, so I like making use of the link instead of downloading it. So you notice something that's going to happen here where I have the H1, you see Pacifico or cursive. If it happens that I comment out this part that has Pacifico, means there is no Pacifico font here, and I refresh, you see that the font family that is showing here is not Pacifico anymore, it's cursive. So I was able to um, add a fallback font if the first one is not found. Let's do this. So if the first one is not found, so the system checked that there is no Pacifico, so the fallback font is cursive. That's why you're seeing it cursive. But if it sees the font you want, in this case I want Pacifico, it shows me Pacifico. This is like the main one. The cursive is the fallback. So in case we've been saying that, that is what that means. So we've seen how to use Google Fonts. It's just basic. All fonts basically is like that. You just need to get the link to the font, then you need to get the family, the font family. So make sure the font family is the one you are picking from the site itself, not the one you are guessing. So it's the name they give, because if you just use any other name, if say I just use Pacifico dash LX and I refresh this page, you see it's not going to work. So you have to make sure that the font family is correct. You also just have to make sure that that's correct. So far, any questions? So we've looked at how to change color of text, how to change the font size of an element, how to set the font family, how to import a Google font. We've looked at how we can specify we looked at how to specify how fonts should degrade, which is what we just looked at, having a fallback font just in case. We looked at that. In a way, we've we've touched sizing your images last week. We looked at how to size images last week. So I'm just going to try something. Let's check for an image. Let's check for an image. See if we have an image we can use. Let's see. Ah. Mm. So I noticed that some of us, our image was too long. For some it was too long, some it was too wide, and so because of that, before someone will see the content, someone will have to scroll down. So that in itself is an issue, because not everyone will want to come to your site and start scrolling down to see the content when you have a very long image. So most people will do is they will crop the image. So on Cloudinary, you can just let me give this a bit. So on Cloudinary, you can just crop the image. Cloudinary allows you to crop your images. I don't know if anyone noticed that. But Cloudinary is like a full functional system that you can use to edit your videos and your pictures. So on Cloudinary, it can help you compress your image. It can also help you to even edit it as far as cropping it. So you can crop it. You can crop your image using Cloudinary. So when you crop your image using Cloudinary to the size you want, you can use it. That is one option, which is okay if you're trying to work on like 1 2 images. But if you're working on a system that you have lots of people who would upload multiple images, you can't go to Cloudinary for all of the images. So it is better you use your CSS to size your images. So you know, regardless of the size that somebody is putting of the image, you know that your system, the code base you put in place is going to work on it for you. So currently, if you check this page, this image I have here is too big. This image I have here is too big. It's too big. This is 100%. I normally zoom my screen because of the class we're having. So you notice it's not completely taking the whole space. Like you see, you notice, and it's supposed to take the space I want. So, and then the height is too much. So I'll just come here. I'll make sure that the width is 100%. So by giving it 100%, it means it's taking up 100% of its parent, and the parent of the IMG tag here is the body. So it's taking up the width 100%. So you see, by adding that, it takes up the exact width. If I make it to be 50%, it means it takes half of the width, 50%. So I need it at 100%. Now another thing I need also is the height. So the height of the image, I want it to be at say 400 pixels. So this is 400. I think 250 is better, or 300. Let's try 300. This is 300. Now the bad thing about using your height, fixing your height, is that it compresses your image, like it just distorts it, and this is not cool at all. So distorting it is not cool. So to fix this, there is a CSS property we can use. The CSS property we can use for image. So we have what's called object fit. So object fit, you have lots of options. You can choose contain. So contain, I don't really know how to explain contain, but it's not going to cut it, like it's not going to distort it the way the height is distorting it. It's going to make sure that that height and that height you gave it will take more priority than the width. So it's just contained. I think I just spoke nonsense. Let me try to explain this again. So object fit contain, what it does is the height takes more priority. So we've given it height of 300, or we gave it width of 100%. Now by default, width of 100% should mean it should take the whole width. But now this object fit is going to make sure that this image is going to fit, but we are giving more preference to the height than the width. So this is contain. If you click on cover, this is like something, this is what you see for your, if you're conversant with cover images on this like Facebook or Twitter, this is how it normally looks like. So this is cover. So cover doesn't take into account the fact that you want your whole image to show. It will just cut out. It doesn't care. It just cuts out the parts as long as it gives you that width and height that you want, and it doesn't distort your image. There is fill. The fill is the default one. It squeezes everything for you. Inherit is the default one which it picks. Initial, the same thing. None, nothing happens. It still cuts it. Revert. So normally the one I make use of, depending on what works for you, is contain and cover. So in this case, what I want is cover, so I leave it at cover. So once I've done this, I just need to add it to this, so that way my work is done. So you see that regardless of any image, let me go and look for a very long image. Regardless of any image I use, let me pick this image address. Regardless of any image I use, the width and the height is going to remain So you see, this is the original image here. It's long, but the browser on its own doesn't care. It says you want 100% width and height of 300 pixels. It's going to give it to you and crop it however way. So now depends on you as the designer, as the programmer, how you want it to look like. If this is okay by you, cool. That's what cover does. If I change it to contain, you see, it gives you that width, sorry, that height. It gives you the height irrespective of the width. It makes sure everything shows. So you can use contain for things like, say you're trying to create something like Netflix. For those kind of cards you see on Netflix, you can use contain for it. I think that's like that. Please, any questions so far? So I'll know. Any questions so far?
I have a question.
Okay.
So you see how you put the image in above the header? Say you wanted about 3 images. Do you just insert 3 different image? What they call the image? The I'm forgetting. Not the code, but the actual like the image.com thing. Am I
Okay,
making
the
sense?
image
Yeah.
address.
So the source. Say, are you gonna input 3 sources underneath each other so they appear next to each other and have like a break in between, or do you have to do a image tag like 3 different image
Yes,
tags?
image tag in 3 different places. So the image SRC can only take one image at a time. So you'd have to make sure if it's multiple, you have to list them 1, 2, 3. So here I have it as 3 images. 3 images. And if I choose to space, I can use the BR to space. Sorry. I can use the BR to space it. Isn't giving me that break. Okay, so another thing we can do here in this case, since we are seeing that it's not giving us the space and it's looking too jam-packed, we can add margin. So we want spacing to be at the bottom. So this first image should have spacing at the bottom so that this other element doesn't look joined together. So we can have it as margin bottom 15px. So when I save this and I refresh this, you see there is a spacing that was given to it. If I should inspect right now, let's increase this to 30. Hold on. So if I should inspect this right now, you'll see that this image here has a spacing, a margin at the bottom. If you check the box model, you see the margin I gave it at the bottom is here. So this is it, and it affects everything because I targeted the image element. So any element that is an img element is going to have margin bottom of 30 pixels. So this is like basically that. Okay.
So, with those images, instead of having them underneath each other, can you have it from left to right instead of up and down?
Yeah, if you want to have it left to right, it would have to use a property called float. So you'd have to float it, and that part is kind of more advanced. So for now, we won't look at that yet. We won't look at that yet, but we'll look at that later on. Look at that later on. Okay, Kemi, your question.
Hi, use good evening.
Hi,
So, if you want to make the pictures, the images, different sizes now, how do you put it in the CSS?
okay, you want each of the image to have different sizes.
Yes.
Okay, so something like that is at that point we would look at element specificity. That's what it's called in CSS. So you'd add classes and IDs. So it's probably about what we have to look at on Wednesday. So if you give an element a class or an ID, you can use that ID as like an identifier to identify a particular element and style it. Because say you want just this first element to have spacing at the bottom and you don't want the remaining two to have, you can use it. So if you give this first element a means of identification, you use that means of identification to style, so it's not going to affect the other ones. So we'll look at that on Wednesday. Look at that on Wednesday. Look at that on Wednesday. So for now, we'll just look at what we're supposed to look at today. On Wednesday, we'll look at that. Okay, so we're looking at next one is adding borders around your elements. So to add the border around this image, for example, you can have border style equals solid, and if I refresh this, you'd see he added the border. So by default the border color is black, so I can change it to any color I want. So it's either that, and then I can also give it a width. So I can add border width equals 3px, sorry, 3px, and then I refresh this. Let's see, I think 6. Let's see this. Okay, so 6. This is 6. There are different stylings of borders we can use. I know we've taught this at some point, but it's not bad going over it again just to refresh our memory. So we have border. I'm sorry, we already have the border style. So we chose solid. So there are different ones. You can have it dashed, you can have it dotted, you can have it double, you can have it groove. Depends on the one you want. Let's use dashed for now. So I can copy this and have it here as dashed. Yeah, and we are good to go on the border. This is like how to add border around your element. So any element you can always add border using that way. Now, how to add rounded corners. Now, if you've noticed, lots of sites make use of rounded corners, even down to Google here. Even if you look at this card, you see it has a rounded corner, and rounded corners are so cool, especially with cards. They're so cool. So look how to make rounded corners. So to make your rounded corners, let's remove this, save this and run. So if I click on inspect, now there is a CSS property called border radius. So there's our row border radius. So that border radius stands for this edge here, this edge. So by default the border radius is 0px. By default is 0px by default. If I make the border radius 30, you'd see that automatically I have a very nice card, image card. I have a very nice looking image card that the border is rounded. So border radius, you can have it as this. So if I just add this here, so that styling, that part that will make it look curved like that, is border radius. And this is like simple. So you just add the pixels. If you want it to be lesser than this, say it is too curvy, you can reduce it. It's all up to you. You can make it 10. You see it doesn't come out that much. You can make it 2 or 5. It doesn't come out that much. You can make it 30. You can make it 70. It's all up to you to choose. It's all up to you to choose. So that's how you add border radius. Yeah, so that's that. Another one is, let me pick an image. Let's see. Let me pick an image. Let's see. Let me pick lace image. see if I can pick your image. Let me see if I can pick it somewhere. Can I pick it? I think they hid it. Okay, so open in a new tab. Okay, so I have our image here. So if I come here to this, let's remove this altogether. And I come here and I just reference the link to Lay's image. So inside here I have our image. Now you notice here that on Google Meet the images have rounded they are all rounded. They are all rounded. So to make any image rounded, first off you need to make sure that the image is not too large, the width and height. So something small like this would go. So you make sure it's not too large. If it's too large, you have to resize it. Then the next thing you have to do is use border radius. So in this case, you will not use pixels, you make use of percentage. So if I say border radius and I give it 50%, now you'd notice that it has been turned to a circle. 50% makes this turn to a circle. So this is cool. I can just add this and we see that Lay's image looks like how it is on Google Meet. So most of these things are just basic. If I come and I inspect this image, let me see, inspect, you see that that's the styling that was used here. They gave it a fixed width 218 by 123 pixels. Then this is the, I think, let's find the image they used. So you see here the border radius here is 50%. If I change this border radius, let's say to 20, now you, okay, that's it for the surrounding. That's for the surrounding. Let's see the image itself. Sorry. If I change this to, that's also for the surrounding too. Let's look for the image itself. Okay, yeah, I think this is it. Okay, so if I make this 0%, you see that the image here doesn't have any rounded borders and it affects everything because it's making use of a class. Or if I change this to 5%, this is how it looks. If I change to 50%, this is how it looks by default. So that's what they make use of. They make use of border radius. So that's basically it. That's basically it. Border radius. Let's see. Hope that part was clear. Any questions, please let me know. Circular images with border radius, we looked at that. How to give a background color to a div element, we already know how to do that using the background CSS rule. So background, we specify the color we want to change the background to. To adjust the padding, we've looked at how to adjust padding. You can make use of padding top, padding left, padding right. So we can make use of padding left. If I say 30 px, so this is what happens. Padding left 30 pixels. So we have that, adjust the padding. We've looked at how to adjust margin. Now how do we add negative margin? We'll look at this soon. Different padding to each side of an element. To add different padding, there are different ways to do that. Let's see. So this h1 that we have here, this is the h1 tag. We're looking at how to add different padding to each side. So we can have padding left, um 6px, 6px or 60px. You can have padding top 50px. It's just the same thing the way you specify, and if you notice here the padding is not the same. 50 60 is not the same. So the same way you specify your left, your top, your bottom, your right is how you specify. Now there's another one called the clockwise notation. So if you don't want to make use of this padding left, padding top, I noticed some of us used it. You can make use of the clockwise notation. So the clockwise notation means that if you choose padding, for example, so you want to add padding, you can't just, if you add 60 here, you notice that it's going to add everything equally. So if you notice when I hover, the padding, the top is 60, the left is 60, the right is 60, the bottom is 60. And clockwise, so it's speaking from, that's your right to the left. So it's speaking from the top 60. If you notice, if you click on this drop down, you see the padding top 60, padding right 60, padding bottom 60, padding left 60. Another way to do this is to put in 60px, 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 60px. If I choose to change this last one to 50px, it would, oh sorry, 10px, to mean the left, which is the last one, is going to be 10. So this is the clockwise notation. You can use this for what's it called, for margin and for padding. If you look at this image here that we gave the border radius, you would notice that also for the border radius, you would see that the same thing happened. So the border radius here that we gave it 50% meant that the top left, the top right, the bottom left, the bottom right all had 50%. All had 50%. If I want to tweak this and make only the left side have, I can just come here and put uh, border radius. Sorry, border radius. I can say 30. Sorry, border top left radius. I can make it to be 30 pixels, and you see that it's only that top that has the radius I want. If I want this bottom, this is the bottom right. Like these are things that people use to create some cool cards. Border radius, so I can say border bottom right radius and make it 30 pixels, and you see that this looks stylish enough. This looks stylish. So padding affect the shape of the image. Yes, for the image it affects it. So you need to make sure that you're wrapping your image in a container, so your container can be your div element or any element that you can wrap it inside. So if you want to give padding, you give padding to the element that is the parent, not the image itself, because adding that can distort, it can distort the shape of the image. So it's better you add it to the parent. So if you're shifting or doing anything, let the parent be the one doing the shifting for you. So that's that. So that's a clockwise notation. Okay, to specify your padding, specify your margin, style the HTML body. We look at how to style HTML body. We look at how to do that. Prioritize one style over another. Let's see how to do that quickly. So how to prioritize. So let me pick this styling I added here. So I added this here. Let's see. Here. So now I'm going to add another IMG tag. First of all, I've already given it a border radius of 50% already. Now I want to override by adding this. Now see what happens when I refresh. When I refresh, you'd see that this border radius that I gave it first, it works. But for the sections that I gave it another styling, it is this one that takes more priority. So CSS is short form for cascading style sheet. So that word cascading means it is ordered. So if you have a styling you've already put, any new styling you put after is going to take preference. It's going to take preference than the one you put before. That's why it's called cascading style sheet. So in this case here, if I should move this border radius here to 50, border radius 50%, and I move it down here, I'm still targeting the same element. You see that everything, it didn't even take into consideration this first one at all. What is taking is this one. So you can use this to prioritize one style over another. So here in this image tag, you'd see here that it still sees the border top left radius. It's not like it's not seeing it, it's seeing it. But this other one takes more priority. That's why this is more like it is for now. It's not making use of it. The moment I uncheck this, you see it reverts back. So you can use that to specify priority. And use that specify priority. Okay. Now I've looked at that. Let's quickly look at something. Avengers Endgame. Let me pick this image. These images. The one I pick, copy image address. Now I have my img src calls this. Holy Christ. Z. Sorry. I have to take another image. So inside here I have this. What the? Let's see what image I can use. Go back. I think this one is clear. Okay, so save this. And inside here, sorry. So that's part of the things that happen. So here, one of the border radius I gave it. So you see that the border radius also affects this, which I don't want. I just want it to affect just a small image here. So I'll just remove this border radius for now. And I would add this border radius to the element itself. So we looked at one way of adding CSS is to add it here internally in the head using the style tag. The other way is to add it externally in a CSS file. Now the last way is to add it inline. So you can add it inline by using the style attribute. The style attribute allows you to add your CSS. So you can just use the style attribute, style equals, then you put in your CSS attribute to your CSS styling. So if I pick this and I add border radius here, you'd see that it's only going to work for the element I want. Yeah, this is exactly what I want. Exactly. So this particular one here, style, what I want is for the width to be 100%. I'll close it here the same way I'll close it in my normal CSS. I want the height to be 250 px. I'll close it the same way I'm going to close it. I'll add my object fit to be cover, and I'll close it. Now when I check this page, you'll see this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. Yeah, this is how it looks like. This body has, please make sure whenever you're working on CSS, make sure you have this styling here. It's called the wildcard. The star sign is the asterisk sign is a wildcard. Make sure that your padding and your margin is set to 0. By default, you'd see that this border, the body tag has margin added to it, which you don't want. You'd see that by default it adds 8 px margin, and we don't want to have spacing around it. So just give it that padding by default is 0 px. Your margin by default is 0 px. This is wildcard. When I refresh this, you see that that spacing goes away. Please make sure you always add your wildcard, please. This is a must. On any page you are working on, make sure you have padding 0, margin 0 px. It's a must, please. So inside here, I have this cover image. Now I want Lay's image to be in the center up here, more like how you'd see it in say Facebook or Instagram. So I have her image. This is the cover image here. This is Lay's image here. So I would have to put, I can use text align center. Okay, okay, no problem, Kamal. So I would have to put this image that has Lay's picture inside a container, because if you notice, I can't add text align center. It's not going to work. Number one, because the width of the image of Lay's image is very small, so I can't add text align center. You can only add text align center to something that is spanning the whole width. For example, H1 here, I can add text align center. If I hover, you see it takes the whole width. So if I add text align center, it works. So I would have to wrap this image inside a container. Any element, I just call it a container. That's like a parent element, and make sure that that parent element is aligned text center. So if the parent element is aligned text center, it means that all the children is going to be aligned center. So I'll just come here, I'll make use of div because I love divs, and the world is a better place with divs. So I have my div here. I've added. Now you notice that if I hover on the div, you see that the div takes the whole space. Now if I should add text align center, you see the image is centered because the image is a child. So the child is inheriting the styling of the parent. It's part of what we're supposed to look at here. But there's a part about inherit styles on the body element. Your parent elements you can inherit. So you can actually inherit this. If I remove this text align center and I add text align center to the body, now you'd see that everything that is a child of the body is going to be aligned center. So that is like inheritance, style inheritance. It will inherit the styling of the parents unless told otherwise. So I just want the parents here, just this image to be aligned center. So I just make this text aligned center. So I just come here, I would add it inline. So I come here to my div here, I'll add the style, and I add it as text align center. Save. So I have it here, text align center. Now I want Lay's image to be up here. So far, any questions? Because we are like moving to some really complicated stuff now. Now I want Lay's image to come up here, up. So I can use negative margin. Let's see if negative margin can work for us. Minus 60px. So you see what happens here is that because I gave it a negative margin, it's moving it up. I don't know if that part makes sense. But by default, this is how the element looks like. So negative, the adding minus to the top means that instead of it to go down, because when you add margin, for example, it goes down, it adds spacing around the element at the top. For example, margin top 60 pixels, you add it at the top. Now because of I am making it negative margin, instead of it to push it the element down and give it space, it's pushing the element up. So if I have minus 60 pixels here, you see that Lay's image is up. So I can just copy this margin top 60 pixels and paste it here for the div. And this looks okay. So I can change this to Lay's name. So I can change this to Lay's name. So let's change this to Lay's name. Let's see. So we have this as this. So this is her name. You can increase the font size if you want. Font size 35 pixels. And you can make it text align center. This looks okay. I can just copy this style. Sorry, just did something I shouldn't have done. Sorry. Please hold on. I just mistakenly saved this bridge. Cancel. Okay, so I can have this. So if you notice that for every any style we add here, it gets added here inline. So you can even use this to pick your inline style and just paste it. Please make sure that they are on the same line, please. On the same line. So you see this, then I can choose to make this, let's say, fonts family. Let's use something cursive is not bad. Say font size 20 pixels, it's not bad. Line heights to a sphere. Can change the color to a lighter shade of gray. Ah, can use gray. So I just pick the styling I have here, and I'll add it for the P element. So this is P, and then I run this. Yeah, this looks this looks cool. This actually looks okay and cool. Let's add VR here, please. VR. Yeah. So at this point, I am going to stop. What if I want a text to come beneath each image? Yeah, if you want text to come beneath each image, you can add it yourself. You just add it. You'd add it. I think is that what you're asking? If you want the text come beneath each image, you just, in this case where we have this img beneath this image, and you already have this container here, which is the parent element. So um after this, what's it called, after this image, you can just have your text here, either your paragraph tag or any tag you want to use it, and it's going to come underneath it. I think is that what you're asking? Hope I answered that well. I don't know. So far, do we have any questions? Because this is where I'm going to stop for today. We are going to watch the video and just try to practice. For now, no assignment to be given today, so we're just going to practice and try to recreate this page I worked on. For some weird reason, this page doesn't load, but it loads on my end. I don't know why. So you just try to see if you can recreate this page on your own. If you have any issues, let me know. Let me know via Slack. Please let me know via Slack. If you have any issues, let me know via Slack. Okay, Victoria asked.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to ask concerning email. The assignment you sent to us for free code the phone tag and yeah, the way they asked us to do their own is kind of different from what we did in class, like using the label tag, then using the input text and image ranges and all of that. It is quite different. They did it like putting label, opening the label tag, putting in the input, and then closing tag of the label. Is it still the same way? Can we use it interchangeably, or should we put it one, or which one is better to
Okay,
use?
let me get you right. You're saying that FreeCodeCamp says you should put the input inside your label tag.
Yes.
That's weird. Inside your nah.
Like you put the label,
Mm-hmm.
then input text, ID, attribute, value, then close the tag, then put the closing tag
You would have to send me
Okay,
the
right.
link to that. Let me check because that is wrong. HTML wise is wrong. I would have to check that out. Normally you put your label, even if you check any site, you put your label first, then you put your label first, then you have your text underneath. Let's see if I can have a sample site I can check. Let's see. Uh, I'm going to check that again just to be sure. If I can have a sample site that has a phone, which site can I check that has a phone?
Hi, Lewis. Um,
Okay.
that's not what what's on Freecode Camp though.
Oh, okay.
Freecode Camp says you put your label, then you put your form. You understand? Then
Oh,
you, so I think it's that form she's talking about, like the FOR equals to the name of, you know, what you're doing. You close it, then you have your input under, and then you
okay.
have the table closed. That's what's on Freecode Camp.
Okay. Thank
You
you
know,
very
when
much.
you thought that you didn't put the FOR, just put the normal label and then input under, then you close your label. And then it has the whole ID and the rest of it inside the input label. Input tab.
Okay.
Do
Thank
you
you.
understand?
Thank you, Kemi.
Yeah.
So, Victoria, what you said, that stuff is actually wrong. You can't have input inside your label. You can't have input inside your label. I don't use the for tag because I honestly don't use it. Though we can look at the for tag later on. Though. The for tag is just to specify what element the label is working for. That's that. For the three image scenario, can the text come before next? Okay, please do. Please send it to me on Slack. Please send it to me on Slack so I understand you better. For the three image scenario, can the text come before the next image and styling with all the three image? If you are targeting, it depends on what you are targeting. You can have, it depends on you. You can have a text to come before the next image if that's what you want. You are the designer, you are the programmer, you choose how you want it to show. About the styling affecting all the three image, if you are using the img tag to style everything, it's going to affect everything. If you want it to just work for one, since now we've not looked at IDs and classes, you would have to use inline, and that's how I did it here inline, because I noticed that we have two images here. So if I have the same styling here in the img tag, it's going to affect both of them. The images of inline styling, so you can use inline styling to just style the three different images how you want it for now, till we go to css classes and IDs for now. So you can use this inline to just style it. But talking about the text, if you are the programmer, you choose how you want it to show. Choose how you want it to show. So any other questions so far? Any other questions? On Wednesday we'll be looking at CSS selectors, CSS class, ID. We'll be looking at all of this and colors. We're looking at colors when Wednesday, Friday. Then next week you can start creating some cool pages, very cool and lovely pages. So any questions? Should I just assume we don't have any questions anymore? The function of the div tag. Let me just call that div tag a superpower tag. That tag is just something that can do almost everything. That's just it. The div can be a container. It can be a parent, it can be a child. The div is just a tag that can do anything you want to do in HTML. It's a multi-purpose tag. See, the thing about HTML tags is there are some tags that just have name. It's just name given to it. They don't do anything special. The section tag, for example, doesn't do anything special. It's just a block leveled element that you can put stuffs inside. It doesn't do anything special. It's just for readability. If anyone checks your code and sees, okay, section, the person knows this is section. The main HTML tag too, the main HTML element, it doesn't do anything special. It's just for readability. The div tag also, you can use it for readability, just that the div tag, developers just use it a lot. It's just a very popular, it's just like, I hope I'm not causing trouble, Wizkid and Davido. That's just how it is. So the div tag is just an all-rounder tag that can do anything you want it to do. You can use it to do anything. You can even use it in place of your p tag, your paragraph tag. That's how cool the div tag is. It's just an HTML element that can allow you to do anything. The same way you can use section tag to do almost anything too. But just that you will not see most developers using section tag. You see them using div tags. So the div tag doesn't do anything special. It's just an HTML element that most people use. That's just it. That's how me I see it. It's just there. It's just there. If you use, for example, a main HTML element, the same way you use div tags, if a programmer should see your code, they can swear for you. Because they tell you, why will you be using main? But if you look at it, it's still the same like a div element. It's just the name. That's just it. It's just name. Okay, so in the absence of questions, this is where we are going to stop for today. Hopefully this video recorded well, so I'm going to send the video over. So we'll just practice, see if we can create. If you have any issues, please notify me on Slack, and I would try my very best to answer on time. So everyone, do have a lovely day, a lovely tomorrow, then Wednesday we'll see.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah, thank you, Penny. Good night. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Given. Okay, so I'll stop recording.
Lois?
Okay, yeah. Lay.
Hi. I
Hi.
I resubmitted the assignment that you sent back.
Okay.
I had a question for the meta character set and the JavaScript. Is that meant to stay in the head, or does that also go in the body as well?
Which one is that?
The let me see if I can pull it up for you. The project that we had to create, I think just worked on recently. For the week 4 assignment,
Okay.
I
What?
sent you
Okay.
the comment. The image tag belongs in the body, correct? But does the meta character set and the script tag, do they belong in the head tag, or do they belong in the body tag as well?
The meta has to be in the head. Anything meta has to be in the head. Now the script has to be in the head too, but it depends. When we learn JavaScript, you'll see that there are some you'd have to add the scripts at the end so it can be in the body tag. But anything you want to be loaded first before your page runs, before your page is fully loaded, it has to be in the head tag. Hence why your CSS has to be loaded first before your page comes up. It has to be in the head tag.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the Google font tag also belongs in the head tag as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Okay. No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so everyone have a lovely day. Take care. Bye. Meet Social.